Welcome to Book Club for Movies for the week of May 15th. I'm Ryan Miller, and...
Isn't it the 17th?
Typically, we don't talk till we're introduced.
Sorry.
Matt Amberg is still not here. Matt is still getting his life in order. Now I feel bad. You can talk before you're introduced. It's fine. But I will introduce you after I explain where Mr. Matt Amberg has been or is in this moment, because you could call this a mainline real book club for movies show. We've done some fun little side projects along the way, but this is it for May 15th, like I said, so the week of. Matt will be back. He's, again, I can't imagine going through what in Wisconsin, trying to get everything organized after a move. But for now, we have literally the people closest to me physically. I did the least amount of work to get some subs today with my daughter, Evelyn Miller, going around the table.
I was the one who spoke before.
You're right, and I just interrupted you, so it's good that we're both bad at this. Evelyn Miller. Evelyn Miller.
Hi.
Hi. And Kandie Miller.
I'm Kandie Miller.
So that's all of us, except for I do have a son, but he is at school, and we figured if we didn't do it now, we wouldn't do it later. So we even have a hard out. So if I just cut off the podcast before it ending, that's where we went.
Because the bus showed up.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we'll go too long, because here on Book Club for Movies, we watch one movie a week, and then we talk about it. We are only going to do that. No rest of the show, no fiddling around. So we will just talk about one movie, and it's actually one movie I already kind of talked about. I believe I did a Patreon post, and I think it's even public, so any number of people could already know my feelings on the movie. But we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yay!
We don't know his feelings on the movie.
Honor Amongst Thieves. Yeah. Sorry.
Is that
Secrets.
Anybody that follows the podcast might know
Whoops.
which present company aside.
I don't think I am a Patreon.
No, that's just cyclical. It's like that. That would be money laundering at that point, I think, if you signed
I
up.
have access. I'm not a Patreon.
That is, I have considered that, especially on the other Patreon, because then you could comment on things as well. But you're a bigger part of the other one, so that would make more sense there. Anywho, we watched Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. We almost watched, what else did I pitch to you guys? Oh, Captain Phillips, for reasons that we'll get into at some point. Not here, and quite possibly not with you guys at all, but here at Book Club for Movies, we'll talk about eventually. Mm-hmm. But when I brought up Dungeons and Dragons, you guys seemed much more into watching that movie. Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, the one we watched before was the other version, the first version of Dungeons and Dragons it was okay.
Did you watch that one with me?
Yeah. I watched even part of it with you. Yeah, Evelyn watched the first one with you completely.
Yep.
And I watched part of it.
Did you really?
Yep.
So I not only blanked out the movie, I blanked out everybody involved. The one with, tell me what was in it, just for fun.
It was this guy and then this other guy who were both thieves, and they tried to save this this librarian girl who worked there, but then she captured them with magic, and then they got transported somewhere.
Okay, and then, that's actually for anybody listening. That's like, it couldn't possibly have been about that. It was kind of pretty much about that.
And then they had to kind of take down this really bad guy who was like,
Oh, and the bad guy was Jeremy
making
Irons,
this princess do all these really bad things.
Confirmed.
And then this whole fight at the tower with the princess, and then that really bad dragons and
bad graphics and.
Which we can come back to that during the show, but the CGI in that movie was not forgivable. The movie itself is bad, but it's a pretty interesting train wreck, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they got Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons. He's not against chewing some scenery here and there. He's always. I'm sure he's like classically trained or something. He seems like that type of guy, but no, he'll. I feel like he hasn't been that picky. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to see, back to the previous question, of why would we want to see this movie instead of Captain Iron Fist or whatever you called it?
Captain Phillips, which
Phillips,
you
there
have no
you go.
idea what it is. In fact, I was like, hey, what if we did Captain
It
Phillips?
rhymed with Phillips.
And
Iron
your
Fist.
first statement was, oh, is it a Marvel movie?
Yeah.
Because Captain.
Because-
And then she called it Captain Iron Fist just now, probably because you made her watch so many. What are those kind of movies? Ninja movies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It
We'll-
rhymed
we-
with Phillips.
we won't go
she
into that
defaulted
either.
to any of those?
It
Sorry.
rhymes with
Kung
Phillips.
Fu movies.
That's it.
Anyway, I just kind of wanted to see if it was better than the last one, which I bet you it was because it has Chris Pine in it. So, yeah.
Oh, big Chris Pine fan.
Oh,
here,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so so Chris Pine was the answer, basically. What you were.
Well, I guess it had an A-list actor. I mean, if you make a movie with an A-list actor, it's at least
I don't know.
Oh.
Jeremy Irons.
kind
was it?
of good.
Jeremy Irons is like double A.
Well, I just mean in this generation,
In the now.
2023
So that's
placement
actually
of this year.
a good point, Evelyn. Maybe we should start with some of your backgrounds on movies because you were already surprising me with how you're talking about this movie. I didn't even know you knew the term A-list actor. Although, do you still have a list of like actors that you like?
Those are only women from Marvel movies. Yes.
Oh, you have a list of only women.
Yes.
So do I. So, I'm just kidding. I don't. Of only women from Marvel movies that you
I
like?
think so. Like I rated my favorite women superheroes from favorite to least favorite.
Oh.
You had.
Thing is, I only knew
No,
like
'cause at one point
10.
you had a list with Nicolas Cage on it.
Really?
I thought so. I never saw it.
That might be my favorite actor and actress.
Yeah, that's
list.
what I asked.
No, but there's one for Marvel women, and then there's one for like just straight up actors and actresses, and I don't know where either of them are.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
Are they on your phone somewhere?
nope. They're on
no,
like
there
this.
was a
list.
physical. I remember
Yeah.
she was writing them down, and I was like, oh, I should get those, and then we
I
can.
think I wrote the Marvel women one on like this weird little paper that I like. It was like one paper, like it wasn't even attached to anything, but it was just this tiny little
Okay,
note.
so your background, we could say, is how you've watched a whole bunch of movies, quite possibly mainly Marvel movies.
Yes.
No,
And
that's
a
not
giant chunk of kung fu movies.
Yes.
true. I mean, for her age, certainly.
No,
yes.
for anyone. More than I have. She watched so many
yeah.
of them with you, and I didn't even watch. I'm like, I'm out.
Well, I know because that was the thing I was gonna say
But, like,
for
most of
you,
them
for
are-
your background, Kandie, when it comes to movies. We don't like the same movies. Barely.
No, we do like the same movies. I just like different movies a lot than Ryan likes. His favorite movies are different than my favorite movies.
Yeah,
But
there
we
you
do
go.
like a lot of the same movies.
Keep it on the mic, number one.
Sorry.
Do you need to move it? Okay. I guess I'll take that.
What? We watch movies together all the time.
We do. No, I don't know. Maybe this is my complex. I just feel like the movies that we watch together are more you humoring me than necessarily me humoring you.
That is correct.
But maybe that's just because you grow up in a or come up or live in a largely male-dominated society.
Also, I feel like you don't have time to humor me. Like, this is like your job, and you have to get this done. And so I humor you and watch your whatever movies. But if I'm going to watch something, you're like, yeah, you can watch that without me.
Okay, that's fair. I probably really don't have the time, but also inclination.
Don't care.
I mean,
wanna
a
watch
little
it.
tiny bit. It's not that I haven't ever not watched the movie that you have mostly wanted to watch. We did a whole month of. Well, I guess
I chose one movie.
Yes, you but that was in fact, if I should have mentioned this before, if you want to hear more of this, we have done I think it's patron only at this point. So you might have to subscribe over on the Patreon, but we did a follow up on all the movies we watched for August, which were slightly more romantically inclined films. So you did choose The Age of Adeline. Adeline?
Yeah,
For that one?
I love that movie.
We just recently watched a movie the other day
Adeline?
that had
Adeline.
Adeline that had the main guy in it. And we were like, hey, that's
Yeah,
the
we
main
just
Oh,
watched
guy.
World War
Mr.,
Z with.
that you certainly love. Why wouldn't you? But me and Matt didn't necessarily.
I think he plays like Khal Drogo or something. Khal Drogo.
Isn't that a
He's in
Game of
He's in
Thrones?
Game of
He's
Thrones
also-
also.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just don't know what character he plays in Game of Thrones because I haven't
think
watched
it's
it.
watched like
that
3
guy, 'cause that's-
recent
isn't that
movies
Momoa?
with him in it.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. He plays someone in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
But we saw him in
Queen Victoria.
Queen Victoria.
Or Young Victoria.
Victoria.
Sorry.
Wow, young Queen Victoria.
Young,
Interesting.
the
Victoria.
young Victoria.
young-
And we
Well,
also saw him in World War Z.
So that's where we're all coming from. basically.
Yes,
And
very different
everybody knows
backgrounds.
where I'm coming from. I'm, in fact, if anybody in this world has humored my insufferable movie opinions for longer, it's probably you two. So
That is correct.
longer than Matt, that is, but it's pretty close. In fact, Matt probably by volume still has you beat, but
Well, it's been years. You're right. I'm like, I don't know. I've been with you for 20 some odd
but I
years.
think I learned pretty quick not to. I mean, if it's a really good movie, like I'm trying to think the last one we did it for, but we'll sit and talk about it. I guess for this one, we would have probably sat and talked about it. In fact, this would be a good segue. We probably would have sat and talked about it a little bit if I wasn't like, okay, save it for
That's
the
true.
podcast.
That's
So,
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is the second time I've seen it. I did see it in the theater. A good friend of mine called me up, and we went kind of out of the blue-ish. And as you will see if you read that post, if it's possible to read it, again, I'm pretty sure public, really enjoyed this movie, but maybe a little bit more. I had heard rumblings that it was doing pretty good, but I'm often unplugged enough that I don't pay attention or often don't put a lot of stock in, because you never know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the marketing cycles, that's all stuff pushed by the actual, people.
And you went early.
making
You went
the
like
movie.
opening weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
quite possibly opening day,
Yeah.
actually. But yes, really liked it. So enough about that. Enough about what I thought. What did you guys think about the movie?
Mom, you want to go first or?
You go first.
Okay, I wrote down. I had a list of bad things, and then I had a list of good things.
Interesting.
And I didn't write down anything bad because I was kind of only looking for good things. So I wrote down 5 good things.
Oh, I
First,
see. You preloaded your list
first-
there into categories, and you just didn't put anything
Couldn't
in
find
the bad
anything
things
bad.
category.
Yeah. So for number 1, we have Chris Pine, obviously.
Number one good thing.
Might have covered that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what did you think about him in the movie?
I thought he was a really good choice for an actor to put in there, because in the original movie the main guy was kind of a little bit self-centered and
Justin Whalen.
Yeah,
in
that
the
dude.
original
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
played kind of
Jimmy
a
Olsen
self-centered
from
guy.
Lois and
thief,
Clark.
might I add.
But he was the
And
same.
who-
He was confident.
I felt like in this movie Chris Pine was a lot less self-centered, but he still had the occasional maybe he doesn't have the same amount of wit as me. He still
yeah,
had that
he
occasional
was
line, which I
confident.
liked, which was good for the character he was playing. I've seen Chris Pine in a couple other movies, but he did do a very nice job playing his role in this movie.
His favorite Chris Pine movie so far?
I haven't seen Star Trek in a while, so we'd have to rewatch that.
We need to
would
rewatch
have
Star
to.
Trek.
Certainly. Okay.
Okay, number 2 was the fighting scene between that Thayan bad guy and then the good and serene shackle, whatever you call him, guy, the Chevrolet, the name that you called Chris Pine and that dude in the blue uniform, his previous job name. Serene Shacklety. I don't know.
You've asked the question perfectly in a way that makes me forget at the same time. Jeez. Okay, keep going. It'll
He
come
was
to
like
me
a
out of
ranger
nowhere.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a good guy.
Also, anybody that's actually knows anything about Dungeons and Dragons probably not going to enjoy this show, because none of us
Sorry.
are certainly very well versed with that, other than what's kind of bled into mainstream society.
Yeah, but the fighting scene between that
Harper.
Harper,
Harper.
there
Told
you
you.
go.
Told you it would come to me.
Harper.
I didn't look that up either. I don't. The way we set this up, I don't have a computer in front of me. So
Okay.
Between the Thane bad guy and the Harper who led them to that helmet, in the underground devil world. But
Bridgerton.
there you go.
Don't know his name. That's
He's
not
from
it,
the
but
movie.
he's from
He's from the
Bridgerton.
series
That
Bridgerton.
Thane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But he turned out to be a good guy, the Thayan.
That fighting scene between the two of them was really good. I really liked the fighting scene. And a couple notes down, I also have all fighting scenes were great, because there kept being a couple fighting scenes between Holga and those weirdos knights that they were fighting to get into the steal the daughter and stuff like that. But yeah, fighting scenes, those were all really good, because usually fighting scenes that I've seen before, but not as good as this one. Anyway, also the cutest little dragon in the fat little underground
The pudgy
world.
dragon.
The pudgy dragon.
Oh,
it
it
was
was my
so
favorite
cute.
part of the movie.
Really?
It was so
Not really.
cute.
Okay.
But it was
I'm
a
like-
great moment.
It was so cute. It couldn't even fly well. It was
It's
just
like
so
a fat corgi where its
He was
belly
trying
drags
to
on the
kill
ground.
them.
but it was
But he
so
was
cute.
trying to walk too. He couldn't do that either.
He couldn't walk, and he was so cute. His little tail.
Sheesh.
He just
It's like a fat
tries
cat.
to jump and he falls down
Yeah.
because he's too fat.
Yeah.
He could fly for a little bit. It
Yeah,
wasn't-
but he had to like climb.
Yeah.
And
He was a cute fat dragon. All right.
I was
was-
happy with his little
was
tiny
a good
wings
sequence.
because I
I've-
was really confused at how those really small wings were lifting his fat, large body.
I
but-
love
magic.
Yeah.
I love that when
exactly.
the dragon came out, I was like, oh, he's so fat. And then I'm like, oh, no, he's really fat. And that's part of his character is that he's so fat.
And it was so cute.
That
I
was
love that little kitty. Or not kitty.
Cute.
Sorry. I
He's a
say
fat
that about.
cat. He is like a big fat
He's like a
cat.
little fat cat.
Okay. He's tickling the fat cat gene.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And then I also thought the plot was good, definitely compared to the last one. Well, I just mean because
I mean, if you wrote out the plot, which supposedly somebody did at some point for that movie, if you wrote out that plot on paper, it probably wouldn't seem that bad.
yeah, but also isn't the best.
It's just everything about the execution of that movie was left a lot to be desired. You could say.
Yeah, but just because most movies today that are made are like have like already been made just with different characters who have lived different lives.
Where are you getting this? This is
By
like
watching movies.
so you this is like I feel like recent, maybe it's not that recent, critical thought where everybody's like, there's really only one movie that we just keep
Literally.
seeing over and over again.
This is
You're
literally
just coming at this by your own. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
My last note is that I liked how there wasn't a main love interest. That like, because in the last movie, sorry,
Keep it on the mic,
Yep.
by the way.
sorry, in like the last movie, there was the wizard girl, the librarian, and the guy you guys keep saying his name.
Justin Whalen.
There you go.
Who is maybe the best part of that movie, though. I
Okay.
mean, Jeremy Irons
Uh-huh.
aside,
Yeah.
doing his thing, you know, I think Justin Whalen did fine in a bad movie.
Yes.
Yes. I too like
He
that.
was pretty good. Yeah.
But love was still the answer.
Yeah, there was a love
Because
story
love
between
for
him and
his
the, yeah.
wife drove the quest.
Oh, you're talking
And
about
then
the new movie.
The
now.
new one.
movie,
And
yeah.
then love for his family is what keeps, you know, like, and you
But there
choose
wasn't
your
a, yeah,
family.
you're right. The only romantic love was between him and his wife.
his
Although I
dad.
could see
Because-
in the sequel them trying to get
Work it
Pine and
out.
Rodriguez together.
Nah, she's not into guys like him.
No.
I know, but they kept it pretty. I mean,
Tight.
they kept it funny. But I don't think they kept it so out of the question
That's
that,
true.
you know,
If
at
there was
some
a
point he's
sequel,
like, maybe I'm, you know, like he didn't
Like-
realize that he was his kid. He didn't realize that she was his kid's mother, technically. So maybe he also never realized that he's in love. I don't know. I shouldn't be the one to talk about that.
Well, I just because I feel like if they did have a love interest, it'd be a lot to like toggle almost, like a lot to
Yeah.
like handle. Like it'd be considered too much almost in the movie if in my opinion.
To build that
Yeah,
authentically. Yeah. I like
along
that they left
with
it
the
out. too.
quest because in the last movie it was just 3 people, maybe 4 once that girl joins them, but the fawn, not the fawn.
She's a Dorit.
It's okay.
She's that girl, but in this one there were but there were 4 in this one too, but like still.
I think
Yeah.
you're just happy there wasn't like a romantic like
Yes.
boyfriend girlfriend thing going on there. Yeah,
that was nice.
I agree. I agree because I think it would have been a lot. I think you're right, but also I think what we got instead with
The daughter,
Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez was a pretty cool
Really?
relationship.
A very-
Yeah, I like
Fun.
their
Fun
relationship.
love.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. Because there's all kinds of love.
There's all kinds of love.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't have anything else to say.
bad
Okay.
No
So
bad
you
call.
liked the movie?
Yes.
How-
9 out of 10.
9. I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
I make my daughter score things on a
What would
1
have
to 5
made it
or-
a 10?
More I don't
More
Do,
fat
do you
dragons.
know what would make it a 10, or
I
are you
feel
just
like
smartly like 10 is reserved for perfect movies?
10 is
so I
reserved
can't
for
give.
perfect
Yeah, see,
movies,
she
yeah.
knows. She knows what she's doing.
Whatever. I gave it a 10 out of 10.
You did. You already said so, even. Why did you give it a 10 out of 10, Kandie
I
Miller?
was
Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Or
It's
Evelyn.
okay.
entertained.
Oh,
Okay, Kandie was entertained.
Yes.
Before you forget,
I'll
Evelyn,
go
what were
ahead.
you?
sorry.
Yeah.
It was just. Oh, I might be forgetting already. But
That's why I knew I'd
that
get to it.
that funny part when he started melting. And
That was, I knew you were going to
I loved that
I
part.
did laugh so hard I cried
Oh my God.
I didn't laugh. Yes, in the theater. So I knew you guys were going to die at that. Yeah.
His eyes started getting so wide.
It's hard to explain if you haven't seen the movie, so you'll know it when you get there.
It
But
was so funny. That part was
that moment
also
did land.
absolutely
Was funny.
hilarious. That,
Okay, Kandie.
That's all.
All right.
Sorry.
I would like to tell you briefly of my experience with Dungeons and Dragons in my life.
Wow.
Something
It will
tells me
take
it
a
will be
moment.
brief. Yeah.
I was asked on a date by a boy in high school, and I had not been on a date with this boy, but I was like, sure, I'll go on a date with this boy.
And high school would have been 70.
No, oh my God, 95.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
Get it right, Dad.
We went to some like little restaurant, I think, and then into the back room.
Ooh.
I know, where they had a table and a bunch of dudes playing Dungeons and Dragons.
So you didn't know this was coming before?
No, I had no idea that's what we were doing on a date.
Interesting.
And they made me sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons
Wow.
with them. I know, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I
Wait. Was there a board involved? Was this like there was a dungeon master?
Yes.
Like there was a guy
There was-
narrating and
there was
storytelling?
a guy narrating.
and-
There was probably 10 or 15 of us.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds legit.
You might have had a more authentic experience.
I remember nothing except wanting to leave there super bad all the
Well,
time.
okay.
But not because of them, but because of the guy I was with. I didn't really.
Oh, I was gonna say you were young.
Wasn't
were
into
you
the date.
were you passing judgment immediately, or were you just?
I just didn't want to be
the
with that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then on band trips, there was usually some kids in the back of the bus playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
Really on a band trip?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's surprising. I think we played Dungeons and Dragons with Link, like a super
Yes.
low level, like kid cards,
Just
Dungeons
cards
and
and this little
Dragons.
mat.
Yeah,
and a
we
couple
yeah,
of
that's true. We
dice.
did do that.
And then
It's,
I watched half of that crappy movie with
I don't
you.
know if it's strictly speaking because there is a starter pack you can buy, like they have them at Target. Even.
No, it was like kid version.
It
yeah, I
was.
think it
wasn't
was not
just
even that.
cards.
Yeah.
It wasn't regular cards. Yeah, and that's it. That's my Dungeons
was
and Dragons.
quite confusing,
experience.
but
Okay.
So that's
besides
good.
all that I mean, sometimes we don't realize how much Dungeons and Dragons experience we truly have.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like I know
Given-
from Onward, like
Yeah,
Onward, like Dungeons and Dragons gave them permission to do a couple things, like use. I know that Onward referenced Dungeons and Dragons
What
sometimes.
is
It's
that
that
a
Disney
game?
movie,
Or like
Oh, right.
the.
but I don't know what. Anyway,
Usage
Because
of-
somehow Disney does not own Dungeons and Dragons. It's a
Yet.
what was the logo we saw? Hasbro, right?
Yeah, Hasbro.
It's technically.
anyway, but I will tell you, I felt like it smacked hard of Princess Bride. There were.
Hello, Siri.
Oh, Siri wants to get in on
I
this.
felt like several times I was like, oh, Princess Bride. Like it would take me back to the Princess Bride. For instance, when he's like, they're all like, oh, dang, we need a dork. He's like, I know one. It reminded me of that moment in Princess Bride where they're like, it's too bad. If we had a large cloak, I've got one, and then the cool big animals, right? Like Princess Bride have the ROUSs and crazy stuff like that. And they had all the
Okay.
big, like the owl bear and
Yeah.
the weird other things. Also,
The rat
everyone
dogs.
who joins their team initially doesn't join them because they believe in their quest or their friends. It's
no.
because they all hate Forge. Like they just want to get Forge. They're like, oh, that's okay. Well, then I'm in. And it's the same with the Princess Bride quest. Like he's like, I will make Prince Humperdinck pay, and they're like, all right, sweet, I'm in.
Guy with six fingers.
Okay, so there were lots of times that I was like, oh, this is Princess Bride. It reminds me of Princess Bride, which was also like a 10 out of 10 movie. So that's not bad.
I don't remember Princess Bride enough apparently because
I
I
love
didn't
Princess
think about it
Bride.
once.
Really?
Did you think about it, Evelyn?
During the
No.
movie?
Okay.
I just
Anyway.
knew it was in like.
Also,
Okay.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
No, anyway,
same
the
time
sword
period,
fight between Bridgerton and what's his name?
Yeah,
At
Fan
one
guy.
point, like they're doing this sword fight, and that happens between Wesley and the
Yeah,
six-fingered man, and they're like, he's going backwards up the stones, and I'm like, that totally happened in the Princess Bride.
okay, that seems a little more broad, but that's fine.
Like I watched that and was like, I've seen this exact moment happen in The Princess Bride, and it's the good guy backing up and everything. But I wasn't mad about it because it was new and fresh and different animals and fun things. And it's not like they're...
I don't think it was following it that
No,
closely.
no,
that
their
you would
quest
have been
wasn't
like,
the same.
This isn't like a Force Awakens thing or anything
No,
like
not
that.
like that. So those were some of my thoughts. But I loved how awful they looked. Like Chris Pine looked terrible the whole movie. And so did what's her name, Michelle Rodriguez. Like they all looked dirty and bad and awful. But then they'd get into like the dream sequence where he remembers his wife. And I'm like, well, now he looks like an actor on a movie, you know? And then they'd go back and I'm like, he literally looks bad. He looks old and he looks dirty and awful. And I really appreciated that. Like all the actors looked bad. And I was like, yay, that's awesome. I don't know if they had to try really hard to do that or... You know what I mean? Like
Such a weird way to put that. But
well, I don't know if they did it on purpose.
they were dirtied up. Yeah, they were living
like, but they all looked like. I feel like they try to get rid of wrinkles on people, and they
Kandie
try
just
to
full on disgusted by the appearance of
No,
all
I
these people.
loved it. That's one of the things that was different about it that I liked. I'm like, it wasn't like glamorous people on this dirty hunt, but who are glamorous still the whole time. Like, I loved it. Also,
That does sometimes annoy me when like people like, oh, let's have a pool party. Oh, my hair's perfect.
the whole time.
Absolutely perfect.
Yes.
So-
Right after this pool party or something like that.
Okay.
Like, it dries in the most perfect form where it's
Interesting.
curled and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that annoys me to like level 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 annoyance. The last thing I wrote down was I loved that the motivational talk that turned everything around was about how awesome failure is and how the minute we stop failing, we fail. Because I actually really believe that in my own life. Like failure is the point. Like we're here to try stuff and we blow it, but we learned a ton. Like you learn a lot more from failure than you do from getting it
Winning,
right the
yeah.
first time. So I loved it. That's like the moment where they finally are like, yes, you're right. Everything's shifting now. Is I talk about failure.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Those are my thoughts. Those are all that I wrote down.
Really? You didn't write down cute dragon?
I knew we would discuss the pudgy dragon and it was okay.
Pudgy Dragon's so good you didn't need to write it down.
No.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with anything anybody has said so far, even though I did not think of The Princess Bride or...
Yeah, neither did I. I just knew it was in kind of like the same time-ish period.
Or, I mean, I don't dislike Chris Pine, but, you know, I'm not...
You don't dislike Chris Pine.
I think
Does that mean you don't like him either?
No, I just don't have the same... I mean, you probably fell in love with him back during Princess Bride, or not Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
Into the Woods.
Princess
Star
Diaries
Trek,
or something
no.
like that.
I would say
Oh,
Into the
Princess
Woods.
Diaries.
Yeah,
That's
so-
right. Oh, and Into the Wood. Oh, I remember all the Chris Pine
He's
movies
fun.
now.
I like him. So I'm trying to think overall and not what I've put into writing so far, but I was impressed with how much of a kind of true adventure movie it felt like.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's been a while since there's just been like a fun romp. And I think that probably isn't doing it justice either. I think it was pretty I think it was more than that. I think on its face, like if you just went for a fun, you know, family evening, maybe even or something like that, it delivered. But also if you want to dig into some of the themes it was messing around with, and I think a lot of the character work, if not all of the character work, was really good. I bought Chris Pine's journey, I think, which that might be for all the movies I've liked him in. Let's see. Star Trek, I think he was a really good Kirk. And yeah, I think he pulled off. I think he had a really good arc there. But I feel like a lot of times Wonder Woman keeps coming to mind. I didn't buy a lot of his journey in that. And I think a lot of it came across in the final bits when he really had to turn around. But no issue here. I think I totally agree. I think, in fact, it has a better, and I can't remember the last time I said this about the movie. I think it has a better last half than a first half.
Yeah, I can agree. I mean, the first half wasn't like slow. I wasn't like not into
No.
it, but at the same hand, like, yeah.
But a lot of times I feel like they really got something on the first half and now they got to wrap it up. Endings are hard. That's kind of
But
everybody
their
knows.
ending was really great.
But yeah, I would actually say it has a fourth act-ish, but even then it doesn't feel pegged on like a lot of fourth acts do nowadays. The movie is, I'm pretty sure, over 2 hours, so it is one of those. But no, like first half, great setup. I'm liking the journey. It's more of a, it is kind of a quest. They've got to go get this thing so they can do this thing, and it turns into kind of a fetch quest bit of plotting. So maybe
Isn't that how a Dungeons and Dragons game goes?
yeah, I'm sure there's
though?
some
So-
callbacks there to that.
Yeah, when we first watched it together in the same room, we after that were like, oh, I'll bet you, since we're not like Dungeon and Dragon people, like play it every day for 24 hours straight. But
I don't think anybody does.
I know, but
I
just
probably shouldn't say that.
I
Sorry.
feel like if we were like total nerds and
Okay.
loved Dungeons and Dragons, we totally would have spotted like, oh, a gelatinous cube, and oh, that helmet, I have that
Yeah,
card. Oh,
we were saying that.
Like,
If
You
we,
knew you called out the gelatinous cube
Yeah.
candy.
I
as
learned about it from
something that
Onward.
You knew
Yeah.
about. Oh,
because they
okay.
used the gelatinous cube in Onward, and in Onward I'd read an article about how Onward had gotten permission from Dungeons and Dragons to call it a gelatinous cube because apparently that's like trademarked by Dungeons and Dragons.
From what I understand, that's one of the things Hasbro has been trying to do is corral and kind of gatekeep a little bit when it comes to
Because like
what they do own. But
because most of their stuff they wouldn't. But I was like, if we were D&D people, it would have been a 15 out of 10,
Yeah. I'm
right?
sure-
Because we
well,
would have been like, oh,
that goes
thing,
both
that
ways.
thing, you know?
Yeah, either you're real excited about those references, or by the end you're like, they kind of like this wasn't exactly.
That's not really how you
Yeah.
use the
Yeah,
chest
so-
of whatever.
I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
Who knows as far as that goes?
Like, I
But
bet
hey,
you that wand staff he pulled out, the hither thither, I bet
Yeah.
that's a card.
Yeah.
You know, like all the things.
Oh, yeah, I'm
like,
sure that's-
coin or something.
yeah,
like
you
that.
know, and like the helmet, I bet that's a card. If you
Yeah.
can get the helmet and the thing that brings someone back to life, you can only use it once.
Okay,
per
we don't know if
game.
these are actual cards or how they're
I bet you
represented
those
in
are
the game.
things. You
but
know what
yeah,
I
I
mean?
see what
Like,
you're saying. Yeah.
I can see the gameplay in it. I just don't know any of it.
And I think a lot of why I like the last half, I'm assuming that's what we're still talking about, better than the first half has to do with, in fact, it might all kick off when the heist starts. That might be a little bit past the halfway mark. Like you said, still plenty to enjoy. But once the heist part starts, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When they go into the city?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
not
no,
in
when
the
they
city, but
yeah,
like,
kind of.
Oh, when
but-
they start to steal the helmet.
Yes,
Kind of.
Okay.
exactly. When they have to set up that whole with the hither thither and all that stuff. Kind of when they get back from the underneath
realm.
underground.
After
you said what
they-
it was, but
I forget.
it's not under something. It's like
Where they wake up those guys and ask them 5 questions.
The under below.
Oh,
No,
that
that's
was
part
funny.
of it. They
That's
get
when
the
they-
helm, they come back up, and then it's on. Like they
Okay.
need to go.
Yeah,
they
like
need to
they're
get
on
into the
time.
vault.
Where the dragon tried to kill them once they get up out of there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So,
Okay.
anyways, yeah, that whole second half I thought was really, 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 really okay. At the very least, really good. I thought the heist was really fun to watch.
yeah.
I think
I like the whole portal thing and how
Nope.
like I really liked how the plot wasn't, because usually, you know, there are weird plots where it's like, oh, plan A totally works. And then it's like, oh, we can't use plan A, back to plan B. Oh, that one works. Like there are these like 3 rules to follow. Not really rules, but like when you watch a movie, it's like either plan A fails and you go to plan B, or plan B fails and you use some other totally weird plan. Like, oh, right, I have an invisible cloak that we can use.
Okay.
Oh, but like this one was like a plan A and then plan B and then plan C and then plan B, but then like A turned out to work and then like they all worked at the same time and then like
Oh, I
it
see
was
what you're
really,
talking about. You're
like-
talking about how, yeah, I think that was a pretty ingenious bit of plotting
Yeah,
as well,
I really
because they
liked
did
that.
have a plan that didn't work out, but
And
then it
then-
introduced some tension wherein
Yeah.
they returned, and they had a funny joke about it, about how plan A is now plan C because there's a
Yeah.
stink on it and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But the fact that it wasn't just they laid it out and then it was, because some movies will do that, especially heist movies, they'll lay it out and then it all kind of
Something goes wrong.
or something
Or
happens
everything goes
in the
right,
execution of
and-
it. This kind of, they put that into effect a little bit earlier maybe, although there was still some improvisation throughout. But then there were things running in parallel. Like she was trying to, because the thing with the portal failed, so she was trying, the wild shape was trying to fix that, while they just went in and were trying to do, trying to break into the vault with the actual helm. Yeah. So yeah, no, totally agree. That was part of what I think made that last half so good. But also, I think all of the character payoffs were really good. I think what Chris Pine ended up arriving at, I think what Justice Smith, right? The sorcerer.
The sorcerer, the
For
wizard.
some reason, I know their actors' names always more than I know the character names. What he arrived at, I thought was really cool. His journey. The wild shape maybe has the least bit of work to do in the movies. That's the girl that can change. But because she already comes in kind of having figured out what she wants. You know, she's in
Yeah.
fact dumped the sorcerer at some point in the
Yeah.
past
Yes.
because he was not as far along as she was. And she's on a mission of, to save her people and stuff like that. So she maybe had less work to do in terms of character, but also very much enjoyed what she did. Who am I missing out? Forge, I guess, he was just a bad dude.
I knew he's a
But
bad dude from the very beginning.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, Paddington.
After-
helped us
yeah,
figure
well,
it
I mean,
out.
Paddington. Yeah. You know,
After Hugh Grant was the bad guy in Paddington, I can't see him as anything but
it does seem to be what he plays more often. I like how he went from lovable,
Notting Hill.
Romantic
Yeah.
lead in every movie to. If was there an event in his life that kind of changed?
yeah.
Everyone's
What
laughing.
movie switched him over?
I wasn't thinking about a movie, but
Oh.
we,
A life situation where
that
he
sent him
became
in
a
the
bad
other direction.
guy.
Yeah, it's very strange. What else? I think I've just about mentioned everything. This is almost an aside, but for those of you that are interested, I know me and Matt talk about this quite often. They stuck with practical effects in the movie, I think more than you might realize.
Really?
Yeah, there are several instances where, I mean, they're definitely using green screen. They're definitely using CGI, but it seemed like they were using it in the service of the practical. It also seemed like they were much more willing to use practical. You know what I'm talking about, Evelyn?
Maybe.
Okay. So there's two types of special effects. I'm going to really simplify it.
Okay.
Computer effects, which are like, you kind of know when you're seeing something that's
Yeah.
CGI in a
that's-
movie.
Yeah.
And practical effects, which means that it's actually happening, like it's
Okay.
real. Like when you're watching Jurassic Park,
Obviously,
There's-
the dinosaurs.
computer generated
Yeah,
dinosaurs,
and then
but then there's
the,
like
hand,
puppet
yeah,
dinosaurs, right? Yeah.
uh-huh.
So
Puppets are
Handmade.
practical.
Yeah.
there were a
like
few
ones they
moments
can touch and
in this
interact.
movie where I could tell they went in fact,
like in the Triceratops scene where they're like.
Okay, still on Jurassic
breathing
Park.
On it. Sorry. Yeah.
but yes, you are correct. Where they put the actors on, instead of putting them in front of a green screen and maybe just suspending them and then doing the green screen work or doing the fans and whatnot, I'm pretty sure they had rigged up the actors and were, followed them across the room while they were, actually moving through space.
Oh,
Let's
cool.
Put it that way. So
Yeah.
and there's other instances. It is still CGI heavy. It's still a very CGI heavy movie, but I was surprised and pleased at the times that they went to they rescue the Thayan, the good Bridgerton Thayan rescues a baby kitten from the mouth of a fish.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like all of
That
that
was
was
fun. Yeah.
practical, right? That wasn't
Like
CGI
puppets.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
total puppets.
Yeah.
They didn't shy away from it. Sometimes looking like a puppet, even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
very-
was awesome.
very impressed.
Which I loved about
Which-
it, actually.
You got to wonder how much of that came from the mistakes from the 2000 movie.
Right. Or The Princess Bride.
Or the Princess Bride,
Because the
obviously.
ROUSs
yes.
were obviously
Well-
men inside a rat costume
Yeah.
rolling around.
I don't know if they had the computer option at that point.
They didn't,
Yeah,
but they did a
but-
great job with the practical and
Yeah.
special effects. So,
Anywho, yes, I think it sounds like we all liked it.
yes, I did. It was just fun. It was
Wait,
just barrels of
but
fun.
Dad-
And I watch movies to be entertained. Are you
Yes.
not entertained? I was
Okay.
entertained, which is why I got a 10 out of 10.
Dad, what would you rate it? Huh?
Oh, do you know how we do the rating system on Book Club for movies here?
No,
Out
we
of
don't.
5? Out of 4? Out of
No.
3? Oh.
We don't often talk about out of what. Actually, maybe it is stars most often. It's fungible.
Fungible.
Yeah,
That
you've heard of
sounds like-
NFTs?
Nope.
These are Fs.
So
F
like
reviews. Sometimes what they're at. Okay, so I usually say how many stars, but then I don't know out of how many. So Matt
Oh.
usually says out of how many. And
So do we
that's
have to
how-
pick a range?
Well,
I say 5.
I mean,
'cause most
technically,
things
no.
are out
So
of
watch.
5.
Let's try and do one. Okay, I would give Dungeons and Dragons 87 stars, and then you would say out of
100.
Out of 90.
okay, it's not the same.
Out of 87.
You need to be more confused and unsure about what you're saying, and then you can really
Oh.
get the Book Club for Movies feel,
Okay.
the real rating and
Out
talking
of
about a movie
1,000,000
feel of Book Club for Movies, where we're just not sure
10,672.
and can barely pronounce the title. Anything else you want to say about Dungeons and Dragons? Honor
amongst
among Is it? That's why I stuttered the first
I think
time.
It's on or among.
I think it's just among.
Yeah.
Among thieves.
I would say embrace your inner nerd and see this movie.
Wow. That's
Agreed.
big talk from
A nerd?
how many? Okay, you're a band nerd, but I feel like you've broken up with other types of nerds. Or have been. No? Okay.
Mom.
I'm
face right
still married
Yeah,
to you.
still, that's true. No room to talk here. This whole show has been pot kettle. And, Evelyn, anything you'd like to say about?
No.
Okay.
I said everything. Love little pudgy dragons.
All right. Love little pudgy dragons.
Pudge pudge.
Is there a pudgy dragon animal for sale
Yeah.
somewhere?
Oh,
Buy that.
stuff. This didn't rate. A movie's good. Definitely rates with me if I go out looking for plushies or action figures.
Is there an owl bear somewhere?
I'd only get the pudgy dragon.
You would get pudgy dragon.
I would get
All right,
pudgy dragon.
Maybe I'll look that up.
Anything from that movie. I'd
What
get
about
pudgy dragon.
a fish that barfs a kitten?
Oh.
Would you get that?
If it were weird enough, yes. If it were like weird looking enough, like if it was so terribly bad looking,
An
I
actual
would definitely
slimy
get it.
fish that when the kitten came out was covered in goop,
Yeah.
like
But
Ninja
like
Turtle
an
slime.
action figure of that moment in time, or like a
like
little
you squeeze
platform,
it and a kitty pops
Something
out and
like that,
slips
yeah.
back in.
Oh, like one of those balls. That,
or be well, yes.
I'll look into that. So that's it for this substitute version of Book Club for Movies. If you've enjoyed this or anything that is on YouTube, I have been putting those on the mainline feeds as well, where I'm talking about my trip through the kung fu-ish action movie genre, might be a better way to put that. You can find those on YouTube and here if you're listening to this as a podcast, but I also put the podcasts on YouTube. So really, I'm out of practice and have no idea what's going on anywhere. But if any of that's interesting, you can always find us at Patreon/Book Club for Movies, where maybe hold off for a second until we're back online in more of a complete fashion. But I think for now, I'm happy we did this. This won't be a weekly thing necessarily with you guys, so don't worry about that. But if you feel like talking about some movies, maybe get in contact with me on Facebook or Twitter or whatever you like, and we'll see how it goes. So I guess bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.